Well, good morning everybody, hope you're all keeping well. For those of you that have been following along the channel so far, great to have you back. For those of you that are new to watching, this is GH Creates and welcome to the shed. So in today's project, excuse me, we're going to be trying to make a wall-mounted book display. And this is going to be for my daughter's nursery. She doesn't have very many books yet, but it just keeps it off the floor and keeps the wall tidy. So we're going to be using up some of this pine, redwood, which we've used in previous projects to do that. And what we're going to do, we're going to start by cutting two side pieces at 83 centimeters, and then I'm going to cut two shelf pieces at 50 centimeters. So I'm going to get on with that quick, and then I'll show you when we're done. So I've cut the two side pieces. These are, what did I say, 83 centimeters, I think I said. I'll just double check that. Yeah, 83 centimeters, and I got my two side pieces cut down to 50 centimeters. Sorry, my two shelf pieces. What I've just quickly done off camera, if you can see that, I've put marks at every 12 inches for the two shelves, and then I've just etched out a 3/4 inch line because that's the thickness of my wood, and this is where my shelves are going to sit. So now what I want to do is I'm going to find halfway and come in 3 inches to the top, and I'm going to put a slight taper to that line, because just having that on a wall is just going to stick out too much for me. It just looks a bit claggy, so I think a taper might suit that nicely. And then with one of the shelf pieces, I'm going to find where that taper meets, and I'm going to cut down to the width of that. Alright, so I'm going to get on with that quickly, and I'll show you when I've done it. Okay, so I just want to show you quickly, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, I've got to find the right light. There's my 3 inch mark there, and there's where it meets, and I've just drawn like a rough line down there to halfway, which is 41 centimeters. Sorry, 40.1 centimeters. For speed, I'm just going to quickly work it out on the bandsaw, but if you're going to try and do this at home, if you don't have a bandsaw, you can do it with a circular saw, you can do it with the miter saw if you've got one. You just have to play around with the angle, or you could do it with a jigsaw or a handsaw. It's entirely up to you, but as I said, for speed, I'm just going to quickly use the bandsaw, and then I'll trace this shape onto my other piece, and then I'll curve. I'm going to be putting curves on it just to soften it a little bit, so I'll just quickly whack it out and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I've put the taper on it now, just a quick rough tape on the old bandsaw, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my orbital sander and give it a quick rough sand down, and then I'm going to try and get a couple of like curves put on each corner piece, so like on each of these, just to soften the blur, make it a bit more appealing to the eye. And then I'm going to fix my first two shelves, which are the 50 centimeter ones, one on the bottom and one at the first 12 inch mark, which is there. And then I'm going to take a measurement for the one that's going to sit here, and get that cut, but obviously I need to make that one a little bit smaller. Little crabs. Okay, so what I've got so far, I just have to be careful with my clamp at the ceiling, is something that looks, oh, if I can stand back a little bit, something like that. So these are the two 50 centimeter shelves, and then what I still need to do is put like a smooth corner on the top of these, and then what I'm going to try and do is get another shelf cut here, which I've measured is 3 3/4 inches, which are, let's have a quick ganders, 3 3/4 inches, so it's at 9.5 centimeters, give or take. Yeah, so I'm going to get that cut down and fitted, and all I've done to fit it, I've countersunk some T20s in there, and then once I've got that shelf cut, I'm going to get a French cleat fitted across the top, and then I'm going to just use some ply. I've got some 6mm ply, and I'm just going to cut some strips to go along the front, and that'll be that. I'm not going to worry about putting a hole back on it, because we want to see the wall, because we've got stickers on the wall for our daughter, because she likes to interact with them. So yeah, I'll crack on with getting this shelf cut and getting the cleat fitted, and then I'll show you when that's done. Alright? Okay, so a few little adjustments, and this is the finished result. So we've got 3 shelves on there. Again, so each shelf is 50 centimeters, and the bracing piece is 50 centimeters as well. I don't know if you can see on there, I've actually found some old, if I can get shot, I found some old architraving, which I turned upside down, and I've actually just CA glued and wood glued that onto the front of each shelf, because the lip on it will actually hold the books quite nicely to lean against and stuff. So now what I'm going to do is give everything a quick final sand, and a bit of finish, and when I sand, I'm going to take that sharp corner off there and just go around the edge like the Aris, and just soften it up a little bit, and then instead of French cleating, which I said I was going to do originally, on the bracing piece I've just countersunk a couple of holes, and I'm just going to go straight into the wall and just let it hang, because the weight of it's not that heavy, and I've got some nice big ass screws which I'm going to use. So when I've finished, I'll show you the end result. Okay, so this is the final product. It's come out really well. I finished it in antique pine bry wax rather than an oil stain. The bottom shelf will hold 10 inches, the middle shelf will hold 12 inches, and the top shelf will hold 7 inches, which, as you can see, is holding all the books really well. I've used 3-inch screws to put them in to put it to the wall, so that's holding it absolutely perfectly. And I've just put a few bottle LEDs around the outside, which at night is going to be really nice. I'm dead happy with that, although I might put a few more around the outside, just around here, just to help brighten it up a little bit. And that's about it really. So we've come to the end of another video. All I will say is that, including filming, the project has taken me 2.5 to 3 hours to do, so it can be done in a day. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment in the description. Join me next time for our next project.